The cargo ship docked at Velarium's gate with a soft hiss. Kang Taman unbuckled his safety harness and stretched his arms above his head. 3 weeks in space always made his muscles stiff. Next to him, Park Nari was already checking the station's docking fees on her screen. "They charged us extra for the second airlock," she said with a frown. Taman shrugged. "Just add it to the bill. The colony's waiting for these medical supplies." Behind them, Choi Daeho climbed up from the engine room. His gray hair was messy and his hands were covered in grease. "Everything's powered down. We're good for 3 days here. Then we need to refuel." The three of them had been running cargo together for 5 years now. Taman trusted these two with his life. They had all served in Earth's military before joining the Galactic Coalition. Back then, humans were new to space. Now they were just another species trying to make a living among the stars. Velarium's gate was a trading station on the edge of Coalition space. It was old and dirty, with flickering lights and air that always smelled like oil. Thousands of aliens from dozens of species lived and worked here. Taman had delivered cargo here twice before without problems. They walked through the docking tube into the station. The gravity felt heavier than Earth normal. Taman's boots clanged on the metal floor. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved past them. A tall insect creature carried boxes on its back. A floating blob of blue liquid drifted by, speaking through a translator device. "I'll check in with the colony's rep," Taman said. "You two grab some food. We'll load out in the morning." Park Nari nodded and headed toward the market district with Choi Daeho. Taman made his way to the administrative level. The colony had sent him the office number weeks ago. He found it easily enough, a small room with a dirty window, but the door was locked. A notice was posted on it in 3 languages. Taman read it twice, his jaw tightening. "Contract terminated due to unpaid debts. All assets seized." His stomach dropped. He pulled out his communication device and tried to call the colony rep. No answer. He tried the colony itself. The signal wouldn't go through. Something was jamming it. Taman walked quickly back toward his ship. His instincts were screaming at him now. Something was very wrong. He found Park Nari and Choi Daeho near the ship, standing with their arms crossed. 3 large aliens blocked the entrance to their docking tube. These aliens were Veskari. Taman recognized the species. They looked like reptiles that walked on 2 legs covered in green and brown scales. Each one was taller than him by a foot, and probably twice as strong. They carried shock batons at their belts. "This vessel is impounded," one of them said through a translator. Its voice was cold and mechanical. "The owner has outstanding debts to the station authority." "What debts?" Taman stepped forward, keeping his voice calm. "I've never had debts here. Transportation fees, docking violations, and contract breach penalties. Total amount is 47,000 credits. The number was insane. Taman's entire cargo was only worth 30,000. "I want to see the paperwork. I want to speak to station authority. The paperwork has been filed. Your fuel cells have been removed for security. You will remain on the station until the debt is resolved." The Veskari turned and walked away, their heavy footsteps echoing. Park Nari looked at Taman with wide eyes. "This is a setup, I know." Taman's mind was racing. He had heard stories about this kind of thing happening on edge stations. Pirates and criminals would trap smaller trading ships, force them into bad deals, steal their cargo. Usually they picked on species that were weak or alone. They went back to the ship, but the airlock was sealed. Station security had locked them out of their own vessel. Choi Daeho punched the wall in frustration. "They took everything. Even the emergency supplies. We need to figure out who's behind this," Taman said. "And we need to do it fast." They found a cheap bar in the lower levels of the station. It was dark and smelled like chemicals. Most of the customers were species that Taman didn't recognize. He ordered water for all 3 of them. Real alcohol was too expensive here. A human woman was working behind the bar. That was surprising. There weren't many humans this far from Earth. She had short black hair and tired eyes. "You're the cargo crew that just docked," she said quietly. It wasn't a question. "How did you know?" Park Nari asked. "Because you're about to get the same offer everyone gets when Thexval wants something." She leaned closer. "I'm Lee Ji-won. I've been on this station for 3 years. I've seen this happen before." "Who's Thexval?" Taman asked, though he had a feeling he already knew. "Veskari Merchant Prince. He controls half the station through bribes and threats. He finds ships he can exploit, traps them with fake debts, then makes them work for him. Usually in dangerous areas where he doesn't want to risk his own people." "What happens if they refuse?" Choi Daeho asked. Ji-won's expression darkened. Prison, or worse. The Veskari don't like being told no. As if on cue, two Veskari walked into the bar. They scanned the room until their eyes found Taemin. One of them held up a data tablet. Kang Taemin. You have been summoned to discuss your debt. Taemin stood slowly. Park Nari started to get up too, but he shook his head. Stay here. If I'm not back in an hour, contact Earth authorities. Communications are jammed, Ji-won whispered. They do that to everyone they trap. Taemin's blood ran cold, but he kept his face neutral. He followed the Veskari through the station corridors. They led him to an expensive office on the upper levels. The walls were decorated with weapons and trophies from a dozen different worlds. A large Veskari sat behind a massive desk. His scales were darker than the others, almost black. Gold rings decorated his claws. This had to be Thexval. Human, Thexval said. His voice was deep and rumbling even through the translator. You owe me a great deal of money. I don't owe you anything, Taemin said. Those debts are fake. The paperwork says otherwise. But I am a generous being. I will offer you a way out. Thexval leaned forward. There is a cargo run I need done. Through the Draxus sector. Very dangerous. Pirates and worse. But if you complete it, your debt will be cleared. The Draxus sector was a death trap. Taemin had heard stories. Ships went in and never came out. And if I refuse, then you and your crew will be arrested. Your ship will be sold. You will spend years in a prison facility. Thexval's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Or you can take the job. Maybe you survive. Maybe you don't. Either way, I profit. Taemin stood there in silence. Every option was bad. They were trapped on this station with no ship, no money, no communications, and no help coming. The Veskari thought they had cornered 3 helpless humans. They had no idea what they had just done. I need time to think, Taemin finally said. You have 6 hours. Then I send my security to arrest you. Thexval waved a clawed hand. You are dismissed. Taemin walked back to the bar. His heart was pounding, but his mind was clear. He had been in bad situations before. Back on Earth during the border wars, he had learned something important then. The most dangerous opponent was the one with nothing left to lose. When he reached the bar, Park Nari and Choi Daeho were waiting. Ji-won had closed the bar early and locked the doors. They all looked at him with worried faces. So, Park Nari asked, what did he say? Taemin sat down slowly. He thinks he's trapped us. He thinks we're helpless, aren't we? Choi Daeho said. Taemin looked at his old friends. His crew, his family. They're about to learn something about humans. About what we do when we're cornered. Park Nari's eyes widened. Taemin, we can't fight them. They're stronger than us. They control the station. I know. Taemin's voice was quiet but hard as steel. That's why we're not going to fight them. We're going to destroy them. Outside, the station continued its normal operations. Ships came and went. Aliens traded and ate and slept. The Veskari sat in their offices, confident in their power. None of them understood yet. They had just cornered a Deathworlder. Lee Ji-won locked the door to her small apartment and gestured for them to sit. The space was tiny, just one room with a bed, a table, and a small kitchen. But it was private. That was what mattered now. Tell us everything, Taemin said. Ji-won made tea while she talked. Thexval has been running this scheme for 2 years. He's done it to 4 other crews that I know of. A Delrani merchant ship, a Polyxian transport, 2 others I can't remember. All of them took his offer and ran the cargo through Draxus sector. Did any of them make it back? Park Nari asked. One did, barely. The crew was half dead and their ship was destroyed. Thexval kept their salvage as payment. The others never returned at all. Choi Daeho slammed his fist on the table. So we're supposed to just die for this bastard? There has to be another way. There isn't, Ji-won said sadly. The Veskari are too strong. Most species can't fight them physically. They have armored scales, faster reflexes, more muscle mass, and they control station security here. No one challenges them because no one can win. Taemin was quiet, thinking. His tea sat untouched in front of him. You said most species can't fight them. What about humans? Ji-won looked confused. Humans are even weaker than most species. We're smaller. Our bones break easier. We don't have claws or armor or... That's what they think too, Taemin interrupted. That's their mistake. Park Nari leaned forward. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Earth. Taemin stood up and started pacing. Do you remember basic training? When we first met aliens and they tested us, Choi Daeho nodded slowly. They were shocked by our endurance scores. More than shocked. They were terrified. Taemin's eyes were bright now. Earth has higher gravity than 90% of known worlds. Our atmosphere is more oxygen-rich. Our planet tried to kill us with diseases, predators, weather, and disasters for millions of years. We didn't just survive. We thrived. But the Veskari are still stronger, Park Nari said. In a short fight, yes. But what happens in a long fight? Taemin looked at each of them. What happens when you run a Veskari for an hour? 2 hours? 6 hours? Understanding dawned on Choi Daeho's face. They collapse. Humans can run for days if we need to. It's how our ancestors hunted. We chased prey until it died of exhaustion. Exactly. Taemin sat back down. The Veskari are sprinters. We're marathon runners. They're stronger, but we last longer. Much longer, Jiwon shook her head. Even if that's true, how does it help us? Thexval won't challenge you to a race. No, but he's already made his first mistake. He thinks we're trapped. He thinks we're helpless. He's relaxed. Taemin smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant smile. That gives us time to plan. Plan what exactly? Park Nari asked. To take everything from him. The next morning, Taemin walked through the station's lower levels. He needed to understand the layout, find the weaknesses, locate any allies. Park Nari was doing the same on the mid-levels. Choi Daeho was charming his way into the maintenance areas with his engineering expertise. In a grimy repair shop, Taemin found another human. A young man, maybe 25, with oil stains on his shirt and a welding mask pushed up on his head. You're from the cargo ship, the young man said. I'm Hwang Minho. I work on the station's environmental systems. Taemin. They shook hands. How long have you been here? A year. Saving money to buy my own shop someday. Minho put down his tools. I heard what Thexavel did to you. I'm sorry. He's done it before. So everyone keeps telling me. Does anyone ever fight back? Minho laughed bitterly. Fight back? Against the Veskari? They'd crush us, would they? Taemin kept his voice casual. I've been thinking about station systems. Environmental controls, gravity generators, life support. If someone understood those systems really well, they could cause a lot of problems. Minho's eyes widened. You're crazy. They'd kill you. Maybe. Or maybe they're not as tough as everyone thinks. Taemin leaned closer. I've fought stronger enemies before. Back on Earth, the trick isn't to be stronger. It's to be smarter and last longer. This isn't Earth. No, it's not. Earth was harder. Taemin put a hand on Minho's shoulder. Think about it. If you wanted to cause problems for the Veskari, what would you do? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, the environmental systems in the Veskari sector are old. They break down a lot. If someone accidentally damaged the cooling systems, it would get very hot very fast. Veskari hate heat. It makes them slow and tired. Interesting, Taemin said. Good to know. That afternoon, Park Nari came back with news. She had hacked into the station's public records using a borrowed terminal. Thexval is running more than just this debt scheme. He's smuggling weapons, trafficking illegal goods, maybe even dealing in slaves. The Coalition would shut him down immediately if they knew. Can we send a message to Coalition authorities? Choi Daeho asked. No, the communications jamming is too strong. We'd need access to the main transmitter. Park Nari pulled up a map on her device. It's in the central tower. Heavily guarded, Taemin studied the map. We'll need a distraction. A distraction? Jiwon had joined them again. What kind of distraction? The kind that makes Thexval angry enough to make mistakes. Taemin smiled. I'm going to challenge him publicly. That's suicide, Jiwon said. No, it's psychology. The Veskari culture values honor and strength. If I challenge Thexval and he ignores me, he looks weak to the other species on the station. But if he responds, he has to do it publicly. That means witnesses. Park Nari was nodding slowly. And witnesses mean he can't just have us quietly killed. Exactly. Plus, it will make him emotional. Angry beings make stupid choices. Over the next 2 days, Taemin put his plan into motion. He walked through the station's public areas, speaking loudly about the Veskari. He called them cowards and thieves. He said they hid behind fake laws because they were afraid of fair competition. Word spread fast on a space station. By the second day, everyone knew the human was insulting Thexavel. Aliens whispered and pointed when Taemin walked by. Some thought he was brave. Most thought he was insane. On the third day, Thexval's enforcers came for him. Taman was in the cargo bay level when 4 Viscari surrounded him. They were big, armed with shock batons and clearly angry. The largest one stepped forward. "You have insulted our master. You will apologize or we will break your bones." "I don't apologize for telling the truth," Taman said calmly. "Your master is a coward who preys on the weak." The Viscari roared and charged. Taman ran. He had chosen this location carefully. The cargo bay was full of crates and containers, narrow passages and tight corners. The Viscari were fast, but they were big. Taman was smaller and more agile. He ducked under a low pipe. The Viscari had to go around. He jumped over a crate. They had to climb. He squeezed through gaps they couldn't fit through, and he ran. And ran, and ran. 10 minutes passed. The Viscari were still chasing, but breathing hard. 20 minutes. One of them was falling behind. 30 minutes. 2 of them had stopped entirely, leaning against walls and gasping. Taman's heart was pounding and his legs hurt, but he could keep going. On Earth, he had run 10 kilometers every morning as part of his training. This was nothing. At 45 minutes, only 1 Viscari was still chasing him. The creature was staggering, its scales dull from exhaustion. Taman stopped running and turned around. "Come on," he said. "I thought you were going to break my bones." The Viscari tried to swing its baton, but the movement was slow and clumsy. Taman stepped aside easily and pushed. The exhausted Viscari fell to the ground, unable to get up. A crowd had gathered to watch. Dozens of aliens from many species, all staring in shock. They had never seen anyone outrun a Viscari before. They certainly hadn't seen 4 Viscari defeated by 1 unarmed human. Taman looked at the crowd. "Tell Thexval that if he wants me, he'll have to try harder." He walked away, leaving the Viscari gasping on the floor. That night, back in Jiwan's apartment, the team regrouped. Choi Daeho had successfully sabotaged 3 Viscari environmental systems. They wouldn't fail immediately, but in a few days they would start having problems. Park Nari had made contact with a few other species on the station who were tired of Viscari control. They weren't ready to fight, but they were willing to look the other way, and Minho had shared the access codes to the maintenance tunnels that ran through the entire station. "It's working," Park Nari said. "The other species are talking. They're starting to realize the Viscari can be beaten. But Thexval will escalate now," Jiwan warned. "He can't let this stand. He'll do something drastic." "Good," Taman said. "Let him escalate. Every move he makes, we'll be ready. And every day we survive, more people will see that the Viscari aren't invincible." Choi Daeho grinned. "We're really doing this. We're really going to take on an entire criminal empire." "We don't have a choice," Taman said. "They cornered us. Now they're going to learn what happens when you corner a Deathworlder." Outside Velarim's gate continued spinning through space. But something had changed. The humans weren't running anymore. They were fighting back, and the station would never be the same. The message came at dawn, station time. Every screen in the public areas showed the same thing. Thexval's face, his dark scales gleaming under harsh lights. "The human known as Kang Taman is a criminal and a terrorist." His voice boomed through the speakers. "He has been charged with assault against security personnel and destruction of station property. All humans on this station are ordered to report to security within 6 hours or face the consequences." Park Nari turned off the screen in their hiding spot. They had moved to the maintenance tunnels after the cargo bay incident. The space was cramped and hot, but it was safe. "He's trying to force our hand," she said. Taman nodded. "How many humans are on this station?" G1 checked her personal database. "Maybe 40. Most are workers like Minho. A few traders, some tourists passing through. We need to warn them. Thexval will use them against us." "Already done," came a voice from the tunnel entrance. A man climbed through, middle-aged with sharp eyes and a military bearing. "I'm Baek Jungi, former Special Forces. I've been on this station for 3 months, supposedly as a tourist." "What are you really?" Taman asked. "Intelligence. Earth sent me to monitor Viscari activity in this sector. I've been watching you since you arrived." Jungi sat down and opened a bag full of equipment. "I contacted the other humans. They're ready to help." "They don't have to fight," Taman said quickly. "This isn't their problem." Jungi smiled grimly. "They disagree. When they heard what Thexval did to you, they got angry. Humans don't like bullies." Over the next hour, more humans arrived through the maintenance tunnels. Workers, mechanics, a doctor, a teacher, even a chef. None of them were soldiers, but all of them were angry. A woman with sharp features and carrying a camera pushed her way to the front. I'm Yoon Sarah. I work as a journalist covering trade routes. I've been documenting Veskari crimes for months, but I never had enough proof to publish. You've been recording their activities? Parknari asked. Everything. Smuggling runs, fake debts, intimidation tactics. But they're careful. They never leave evidence. Sarah's eyes burned with determination. Until now. What you did in the cargo bay. I recorded it. Sent it to 5 different news networks. By tomorrow, half the coalition will know about it. Taman felt something shift in his chest. They weren't alone anymore. Thexval won't let that stand. He'll move against us hard. As if answering him, the lights in the tunnel flickered and went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in red. An alarm started blaring. What's happening? Someone asked. Minho checked his engineering pad. They're shutting down sections of the station. Life support is being reduced in all areas with human presence. They're trying to suffocate us. Can they do that? Ji-won asked, her voice rising in panic. Technically, no. It violates coalition safety regulations, but we're too far from central authority for anyone to stop them quickly. Minho's fingers flew over his pad. They're dropping oxygen levels to 14%. Most species will pass out at 15%. But humans can function at 14%, Choi Daeho said slowly. We evolved at sea level on Earth. Our bodies are built for it. Taman looked at Baek Jungi. Is that true? Yes, we'll feel tired and sluggish, but we can work. Most other species will be incapacitated. Jungi stood up. This is actually an advantage. If they've reduced oxygen everywhere, their own security forces will be struggling too. Then we move now, Taman decided. We take the engineering levels while they're weak. The group split into teams. Taman led one group toward the main environmental controls. Baek Jungi took another team to secure the maintenance access points. Parknari and Sarah went to find a working communication terminal. Moving through the station was surreal. The corridors were dim and hot. Aliens of various species were slumped against walls, breathing heavily. Some had collapsed entirely. But the humans moved steadily forward, their bodies adapted to the lower oxygen. They reached engineering to find only 2 Veskari guards. Both were sitting down, gasping for air. The reduced oxygen was affecting them badly. One tried to stand when he saw Taman approaching. His shock baton came up weakly. Taman simply walked forward, took the baton from the creature's trembling claws and pushed him aside. The Veskari collapsed. I almost feel bad for them, Choi Daeho muttered. Don't, said one of the human workers. They would have killed us without hesitation. Inside engineering, Minho immediately went to work. His fingers danced over the controls. I can restore oxygen to normal levels, but it will take 20 minutes. They've locked me out of most systems. Do what you can, Taman said. Everyone else barricade the doors. If more guards come, we need to hold them off. Across the station, Parknari and Sarah had their own problems. The communications center was locked down tight. 6 Veskari guards stood watch, and they had breathing equipment that protected them from the low oxygen. We can't fight 6 armed guards, Sarah whispered. Parknari studied the situation. Her military training kicked in. We don't have to. Look at the corridor. It's long and narrow. They have to come at us 1 or 2 at a time. So we use human advantages. Endurance, adaptability, stubbornness. Parknari picked up a piece of metal pipe from the floor. We make them chase us. She stepped into the corridor and threw the pipe at the nearest guard. It clanged off his armor. All 6 Veskari turned to look at her. Hey, she shouted. Your boss is a coward and your mother mated with a dung beetle. The translator devices caught the insult. The Veskari roared and charged. Parknari ran. But she didn't run away. She ran in a pattern, leading them through corridors, upstairs, around corners. The Veskari were fast initially, but the low oxygen and their own biology worked against them. 10 minutes later, 3 of the guards had stopped to rest. 20 minutes later, only 1 was still chasing her. Parknari's lungs burned and her legs ached, but she could keep going. She had run competitive marathons back on Earth. This was painful but familiar. The last guard finally stopped, leaning heavily against a wall. Parknari stood 20 meters away, breathing hard but still standing. Come on, she gasped. I thought you were supposed to be tough. The guard tried to raise his weapon, but his arms were shaking too much. He slumped to the floor. Park Nari walked past him, collected the access codes from his belt, and went back to the communication center. The remaining 3 guards were still there, but they were sitting down now, exhausted from the low oxygen. She walked right past them. They were too tired to stop her. Inside the communication center, she began uploading everything. Every video Sarah had recorded, every document they had found about Thexaval's illegal activities, every piece of evidence of corruption on this station. She sent it to coalition authorities, news networks, Earth government, and every public forum she could find. By the time someone could stop her, it would be too late. The truth would be out there. Meanwhile, Taemin's group had successfully restored oxygen to normal levels. The aliens throughout the station began recovering. But now something else was happening. Other species were starting to help the humans. A Delrani mechanic showed them a secret passage. A Polyxian trader gave them food from his private stores. A insectoid janitor told them where Viscari weapons were stored. The tide was turning. Baek Jungi's team had secured the maintenance tunnels and found something unexpected. Weapons. Not the shock batons the security used, but real weapons. Plasma rifles, explosive charges, even some illegal military hardware. Thexval was planning something big, Jungi said, examining a plasma rifle. These are military grade. Very illegal. More evidence, Taemin said. Keep recording everything. That evening, the humans gathered in engineering. 40 humans against a criminal empire. They were tired, hungry, and scared. But they were also angry and determined. We can't win this, one of the workers said. Eventually, Thexval will bring in more forces. We're just delaying the inevitable. Maybe, Taemin admitted. But every hour we hold out, our message spreads. Every Viscari we exhaust, every system we control, every piece of evidence we reveal, it all adds up. He's going to escalate, Jiwon warned. He's already tried suffocation. What's next? The answer came an hour later. The screens throughout the station flickered on again. Thexval appeared, and this time he wasn't alone. 5 humans were bound and kneeling before him. Jiwon gasped. One of them was her friend from the market district. Humans of Velorim's Gate. Thexaval's voice was cold with rage. You have 1 hour to surrender. All of you. If you do not, these 5 will die. Then I will find 5 more, and 5 more after that. This is your choice. The screen went black. Silence filled the engineering bay. The humans looked at each other with horror. This had gone beyond games and tricks. Lives were on the line now. We have to surrender, someone said quietly. No. Taemin's voice cut through the darkness. We don't. But they'll die. They'll die if we surrender too. Do you think Thexval will let any of us live after this? We've humiliated him, exposed his crimes, turned his own station against him. Taemin's eyes were hard. He just made the worst mistake possible. What do you mean? Park Nari asked. Taemin looked at Baek Jungi. Your special forces. What happens when someone threatens human civilians? Jungi's expression turned cold and dangerous. We don't negotiate. We don't surrender. We eliminate the threat. Taemin stood in the center of engineering and looked at the 40 humans around him. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes. But they were also ready. That was what mattered. Listen carefully, he said. We have 53 minutes before Thexval's deadline. That's not much time, but it's enough. Here's what we're going to do. He pulled up a map of the station on the main screen. The hostages are being held in Thexval's private compound here. It's in the upper levels, heavily guarded. That's where I'm going. You can't go alone, Park Nari protested. I won't be. Baek Jungi and 5 others will come with me. The rest of you have different jobs. Taemin pointed to different sections of the map. Choi Daeho, take a team and lock down every docking port. No one leaves this station. Especially not Thexaval. Choi Daeho nodded grimly. Consider it done. Park Nari, Sarah, you're on communication. Keep broadcasting everything. I want every second of this recorded and sent out. The galaxy needs to see what happens here. What about us? Asked one of the workers. You're going to do something the Viscari never expected. You're going to turn their own station against them. Taemin smiled. Minho has access to every system. Environmental controls, gravity generators, door locks, everything. Use them. Make this station a nightmare for Thexval's forces. Minho was already grinning. I've been waiting for this. One more thing, Taemin said quietly. If we fail, if Thexval wins, scatter, run, hide, get to any ship you can and escape. Tell the galaxy what happened here. Make sure Earth knows. We won't fail. Park Nari said firmly. No, Taman agreed. We won't because we're humans. And humans don't quit. They moved out in teams. Taman's assault group headed for the upper levels, moving through the maintenance tunnels. They had weapons now, the illegal ones they'd found in storage. Taman didn't like using them, but he liked the idea of losing people even less. Baekjungi moved like a ghost through the corridors. His military training was obvious in every step. The 5 volunteers with them were less experienced, but they were determined. One was the chef. Another was a school teacher. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Behind them, Minho's team went to work. Gravity in the Viscari security barracks suddenly increased to Earth normal. The Viscari guards, used to lighter gravity, found themselves struggling under the extra weight, doors locked randomly, trapping groups of security forces in isolated sections. Temperature controls went haywire, making some areas freezing and others burning hot. The station descended into chaos. Choi Daeho's team reached the docking ports and immediately began sabotaging the controls. They couldn't actually destroy anything. That would be too dangerous for everyone on the station. But they could make it impossible to launch ships without extensive repairs. Any Vescari ships docked here? Choi Daeho asked. 3, one of his team members confirmed, including Thexval's private yacht. Good. Disable them first. Meanwhile, Park Nari and Sarah had set up in the communication center. They had cameras pointed at every screen recording everything. Sarah was narrating for the broadcast. This is Yoon Sarah reporting from Velarim's Gate Station. For the past week, human civilians have been held hostage by a criminal organization led by a Viscari named Thexval. Coalition authorities have been unable to respond due to the remote location. The humans have decided to fight back. She showed footage of Taman outrunning the Vescari guards, of Park Nari leading exhausted warriors on a chase, of ordinary humans standing up to creatures twice their size and 3 times their strength. The galaxy has always seen humans as weak, Sarah continued. Today they'll learn the truth. Humans come from a world that tried to kill them every day. They survived by being tougher, smarter, and more stubborn than any other species. Today the Viscari will learn what happens when you corner a Deathworlder. Taman's team reached the upper levels. Thexval's compound was ahead, guarded by at least 20 Viscari warriors. All of them were armed with plasma rifles now. They weren't taking chances. How do we get past that many? One of the volunteers whispered. Baekjungi studied the layout. We don't. We make them come to us. He set up 3 explosive charges in the corridor hidden behind support beams. Then he stepped into view of the guards and fired a single shot into the ceiling. The guards roared and charged toward him. Jungi ran. The Vescari followed. When they reached the charges, Minho triggered them remotely. The explosions weren't meant to kill, just to stun and disorient. Support beams crashed down, blocking the corridor and trapping half the guards on the wrong side. The remaining Viscari kept coming, but now it was 10 against 7 instead of 20 against 7. Better odds. The fight was brutal and fast. The Viscari were stronger, but the humans fought smart. They used cover, crossfire, and the environment. When a Vescari charged, the humans scattered and attacked from different angles. When the Viscari tried to coordinate, the humans disrupted their formations. And most importantly, the humans didn't stop. A Viscari would wound one human and turn to another target, expecting the wounded one to fall. But humans kept fighting through injuries that would cripple other species. Pain tolerance built from millions of years surviving Earth's harshest conditions. The chef took a plasma burn to his shoulder but kept shooting. The teacher got slammed into a wall hard enough to crack ribs but kept moving. Taman himself took a claw across his chest, felt the blood running down his armor, and ignored it. Finally, after minutes that felt like hours, the last Vescari guard fell. Taman's team limped forward, bleeding and exhausted but alive. They blasted open the door to Thexval's personal quarters. Inside was a massive room decorated with stolen treasures from across the galaxy. And in the center, surrounded by his last 6 guards, stood Thexval. The 5 human hostages knelt before him, bound and terrified. You should have surrendered, human, Thexval said. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed rage. Now I will kill them all. No, Taman said simply. You won't. You think you can stop me? You're wounded, exhausted. My guards are fresh and strong. Your guards are tired, Taman corrected. They've been breathing low oxygen for hours, fighting in increased gravity, dealing with temperature extremes. My people did that. While you sat here in comfort, we turned your station into our weapon, Thexval snarled. Then I will kill you myself. He drew a massive blade and stepped forward. You challenged my honor. I accept single combat. If you win, I release the hostages. If I win, they die, and so do you. Taman, don't. Parknari's voice came through his communicator. He's trying to— I accept, Taman said, cutting her off. The others moved back. The guards lowered their weapons. In Veskari culture, single combat was sacred. No one would interfere. Thexval was huge, nearly 7 feet tall and covered in armored scales. His blade was as long as Taman's arm. He moved with the confidence of a predator who had never been seriously challenged. He swung. The blade came down fast and hard. Taman rolled aside, feeling the wind of the strike. He came up and slashed with his own knife, leaving a shallow cut across Thexval's arm. The Veskari roared and attacked again. And again. Each strike was powerful enough to kill. Each miss got closer. Taman didn't try to match strength. He couldn't. Instead, he moved. He dodged. He let Thexval hit him with glancing blows that hurt but didn't disable. He bled and kept fighting. 2 minutes. 3. 5. Thexval was breathing hard now. The blade was getting slower. His scales were dark with exertion. Taman's entire body was screaming in pain. Blood ran from a dozen cuts. His ribs were probably broken. His left arm wasn't working right. But he was still standing. Why won't you fall? Thexval gasped. Because I'm human, Taman said. And humans don't quit. He attacked then, not with strength but with precision. Years of military training focused into efficient movements. He didn't try to overpower Thexval. He just waited for the Veskari to make mistakes from exhaustion. A stumble. Taman's knife found a gap in the scales at the shoulder. A slow guard. Another cut across the leg, a missed swing. Taman stepped inside the guard and drove his knife into Thexval's side. The Veskari collapsed. Taman stood over him, bleeding and swaying. Your people had the wrong idea about humans. We're not prey. We're the species that hunted mammoths across ice sheets and built cities in deserts. We're the species that survived plagues and disasters and our own stupidity. He dropped his knife. You were never the predator here. You were prey that didn't know it yet. Thexval tried to speak but couldn't. His guards moved forward, but Bekjungi and the others raised their weapons. Release the hostages, Taman ordered. Now, one of the guards cut the bonds. The 5 humans stumbled free, tears running down their faces. Jiwan caught them as they fell, checking them for injuries. It's over, Taman said. Your boss is defeated. His crimes are being broadcast across the galaxy right now. Coalition authorities are already on their way. You can surrender peacefully or we can keep fighting. Your choice. The Veskari guards looked at each other, looked at Thexval lying broken on the floor, looked at the bleeding humans who were somehow still standing. One by one, they put down their weapons. Taman finally let himself sit down. The pain hit him all at once, making his vision blur, but he was smiling. We did it, he said quietly. 3 days later, Taman woke up in a medical bay. His body was wrapped in bandages and connected to machines that beeped softly. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was or what had happened. Then Parknari's face appeared above him, smiling. Welcome back, the hostages. His voice was rough from disuse. Safe, everyone's safe. You've been unconscious for 70 hours. She held up a cup of water and helped him drink. You had 3 broken ribs, a fractured arm, internal bleeding, and about 30 different cuts. The doctor said any normal person would have passed out from the pain hours before you finally collapsed. Good thing I'm not normal. Taman tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. What happened after? Coalition forces arrived 12 hours after you defeated Thexval. They arrested everyone involved in his organization. The evidence we provided was overwhelming. Weapons smuggling, illegal detention, fraud, attempted murder. Thexval and his top people are going to prison for the rest of their lives. Taman relaxed slightly. And our people? Everyone's okay. Some injuries, but nothing permanent. The chef is already back to cooking. Says he's going to write a cookbook about his experience. Parknari laughed. We're heroes, Taman. All of us. Over the next week, Taman recovered slowly. The medical bay was never empty. Every human from the station came to visit. They brought food, told jokes, and shared stories. They had become a family through shared struggle. Choi Deho came by with good news. Our ship is repaired and refueled. Coalition paid for everything as compensation. Plus, they're investigating every fake debt claim on every edge station. Turns out Thexval wasn't the only one running this scheme. Baek Jungi visited with official documents. Earth government wants to give you a medal. Coalition wants to give you another medal. Personally, I think you should refuse both and just rest. I agree with the intelligence officer, the doctor said, coming into the room. She was a thin woman with sharp eyes. You humans are insane. Your pain tolerance is 3 times higher than any species I've ever treated. Your healing speed is incredible, and your stubbornness is medically impossible. Thank you, Taman said. It wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. But she was smiling. You can leave tomorrow if you promise to take it easy. That evening, Sarah came to interview him for her final broadcast. Her documentary about the station incident had already been viewed by billions across the galaxy. How does it feel to be famous? She asked, camera recording. Tired, Taman said honestly. I didn't want to be famous. I just wanted to deliver my cargo and get paid. But you became a symbol instead, a symbol of human resilience and determination. Every species in the coalition has seen what you did here. It wasn't just me. It was 40 humans working together. That's what we do. We cooperate. We survive. Taman looked directly at the camera. I hope the galaxy learned something from this. Don't judge a species by their size or strength. Judge them by what they can endure. 2 weeks after the incident, there was an official ceremony on Valorum's gate. The new station administrator, a fair-minded Delrani official, gave speeches. Coalition representatives gave speeches. Earth's ambassador gave a very long speech. Then she presented Taman and his crew with official commendations. Not just medals, but a new designation. Honored Defenders of Coalition Justice. What does that mean? Taman whispered to Park Nari. It means we get free docking at any coalition station forever, and a pension. And diplomatic immunity if we ever need it. That's surprisingly practical. After the ceremony, Im Hyejin approached him. She was a human diplomat who had been working in coalition space for years. I need to thank you, she said quietly. For the past 30 years, Earth has been trying to earn respect in the galaxy. We've used diplomacy, trade, cultural exchange. All useful but slow. What you did here accomplished more in 1 week than I've managed in a decade. I just defended myself and my people. Exactly. You showed the galaxy what humans are really capable of when pushed. Now Earth has leverage we never had before. Species that ignored us are suddenly very interested in trade agreements. She smiled. Every human in coalition space owes you a debt. That made Taman uncomfortable. He excused himself and walked to the observation deck. The stars shone through the massive windows, beautiful and cold. Jiwon found him there. Hiding from the celebration? Something like that. I'm not good with crowds. You led 40 people in a guerrilla campaign against a criminal empire, but you're not good with crowds? She laughed. Humans are strange. We really are. Taman watched a ship launch from the docking bay. Do you know what's happening now? All across coalition space? What? Species are updating their threat assessments of humans. Military strategists are rewriting their textbooks. Trade negotiators are being more careful, all because of what happened here. Jiwon stood next to him. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Respect born from fear can go wrong. I didn't want humans to be feared. I just wanted fair treatment. Maybe they're the same thing out here. The galaxy respects strength. You proved humans have strength, just not the kind they expected. A month later, Taman and his crew finally left Valorum's gate. Their ship was repaired. Their cargo had been delivered to the colony, and they had been paid 3 times the original amount as compensation. As they prepared to undock, Song Taijun came aboard. He was a coalition military officer assigned to document the incident for official records. I need to ask you some questions for my report, he said. They sat in the ship's small galley. Park Nari made coffee while Choi Daeho pretended not to listen from the engine room. How did you know you could win? Taejun asked. I didn't, but I knew we could survive. And sometimes surviving is the same as winning. The Veskari were physically superior in every way. Stronger, faster, better armed. By every tactical analysis, they should have won easily. Tactics aren't everything. Willpower matters. Endurance matters. Adaptability matters. Taman sipped his coffee. The Veskari thought like predators. They expected their prey to run or submit. They didn't understand that humans aren't prey. We're persistence hunters. We're the species that chased animals for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. That's in our DNA. So you used human biology as a weapon. I used human nature. We cooperate better than most species. We endure pain better. We adapt faster. We don't quit when things get hard, we get stubborn. Taman smiled. Those traits evolved because Earth tried to kill us constantly. Predators, diseases, weather, disasters, our planet was a death world. We survived by being tougher than everything that tried to kill us. Tejun wrote everything down carefully. This report is being distributed to every coalition military academy. You're going to be taught as a case study. Please don't, I'm just a cargo hauler. You're a Deathworlder who forgot to act like prey. That's more important than you realize. After Tejun left, the ship finally launched. Taman sat in the pilot's seat with Park Nari beside him and Choi Daeho below in engineering. They flew away from Valorum's gate toward open space. Where to next? Park Nari asked. Anywhere but here. Taman checked the navigation charts. There's a shipment of grain that needs to go to the outer colonies. Boring? Safe? No criminals involved? Sounds perfect. They flew in comfortable silence for a while. Then Choi Daeho's voice came through the intercom. You know what I realized? We're going to be famous wherever we go now. Every station will know who we are. Maybe they'll give us discounts, Park Nari said hopefully. Or maybe they'll overcharge us because they think we're rich, Taman countered. Or maybe, Choi Daeho said, they'll just leave us alone because they're afraid of what we might do. Taman thought about that. It was probably true. The galaxy had seen what happens when you corner a human. That knowledge would spread. It would change how humans were treated everywhere. Was that good? He honestly didn't know. But it was reality now. 6 months later, a new species joined the coalition. They were called the Rexari, a proud warrior culture that had conquered 3 star systems through military might. They were big, aggressive, and confident in their superiority. During their orientation, they were shown footage from Valorum's gate. The instructor was an insectoid species named Kidix, who had been teaching new members for 20 years. The Rexari watched in silence as humans fought. Veskari warriors. They saw Taman's final battle with Thexval. They saw ordinary humans doing impossible things through sheer determination. This is required viewing, Kidix said. You may encounter humans in your travels. They will seem small. They will seem weak. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. The largest Rexari snorted. Then they are prey. That, Kidix said firmly, is exactly the mistake Thexval made. Watch again, the footage replayed. This time Kidix provided commentary. Notice the human endurance. The Veskari warrior collapses after 45 minutes of running. The human is still standing. This is normal for their species. Humans can run for days without stopping. Notice the pain tolerance. The human leader takes wounds that would incapacitate most species. He ignores them and continues fighting. This is normal for their species. Humans evolved on a world so dangerous that high pain tolerance was necessary for survival. Notice the cooperation. 40 humans with no military training defeated a fortified position through pure coordination.